First Contact and Rising Conflict. The experimental warship Defiance drifted silently through the void, its stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. Captain Alina Reyes stood on the bridge, her dark eyes reflecting the stars visible through the observation viewport. 20 years of military service had not prepared her for this mission, to test humanity's most advanced warship at the edge of explored space. All systems nominal, Captain, reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson from the tactical station. Stealth field holding at 98% efficiency. Alina nodded, a slight smile crossing her face. The Defiance represented the pinnacle of human military engineering, a fusion-powered destroyer equipped with experimental gravitational weaponry and quantum computing systems. After centuries confined to their solar system, humans had finally developed the technology for practical interstellar travel just 30 years prior. In that short time, they had established colonies on 12 worlds and built a modest but growing fleet. Begin long-range sensor sweep, Alina ordered. Let's see what's out there beyond the Arcturus boundary. The crew worked with practiced efficiency, unaware that this routine patrol would change the course of human history forever. The sensor officer's sudden intake of breath drew Alina's attention. Captain, I'm detecting multiple vessels approaching at high speed. Configuration unknown. Massive energy signatures. Nothing like we've ever encountered. Before Alina could respond, space itself seemed to ripple before them. 3 enormous vessels appeared, dwarfing the Defiance. Their hulls gleamed with an iridescent material that seemed to shift colors as they moved. They've spotted us, Jackson reported, tension evident in his voice. Stealth field compromised. They're scanning us with some kind of technology I've never seen. Alina straightened her uniform. Open communications, all frequencies. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a humanoid figure with silver-blue skin and eyes that contained swirling galaxies. Greetings, human vessel, the being said in perfect English. I am Ambassador Vexiler of the Galactic Confederation. We have been observing your species' expansion with interest. This was First Contact, humanity's introduction to a vast interstellar community that had existed for millennia. Over the next several hours, Alina learned that the galaxy contained over 300 spacefaring civilizations united under the Confederation banner. The ambassador spoke with a mixture of curiosity and condescension, treating humans as fascinating primitives who had stumbled onto the galactic stage. Your technological development is quaint, Vexiler said. Most species require centuries to progress from planetary confinement to interstellar capability. Your rapidity is noteworthy, if concerning to some members of the Confederation Council. Helena caught the subtle warning beneath the diplomatic language. The Confederation welcomes peaceful species, Ambassador. Humanity has no expansionist intentions beyond securing homes for our growing population. Of course, Vexiler replied, though his swirling eyes betrayed skepticism. The Council has authorized me to invite Earth to send representatives to Centauri Prime for formal introductions. We will transmit coordinates. After the meeting, Alina immediately set course for Earth, carrying news that would reshape human understanding of their place in the cosmos. Within 3 months, a delegation led by United Earth President Cheng departed for Centauri Prime aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony. The human delegation returned 6 months later with troubling news. The Confederation was dominated by the Nevari, an ancient species that controlled access to advanced technology. Under their leadership, the Confederation enforced strict technological limitations on developing species, a category that included humanity. President Cheng had been presented with a treaty that would have required Earth to dismantle its most advanced warships and submit to Nevari guidance for a period of at least 2 centuries. She had politely declined. The Nevari response came 8 months later when 3 Confederation battlecruisers appeared in orbit around Proxima Centauri b, home to humanity's oldest and largest colony. The message was simple: sign the treaty or face consequences. Back on Earth, Admiral William Torres stood before the United Earth Defense Council. The Nevari underestimate us, he said, pointing to technical schematics displayed on the chamber's main screen. While they've been stagnating for millennia, we've continued to innovate. Dr. Nakamura's team has developed what we're calling phase shift technology. Dr. Sakura Nakamura stepped forward. Conventional Confederation ships rely on shield technology that creates energy barriers around their vessels. Our phase shift drive allows a warship to partially exist in a parallel dimensional state, essentially becoming ghost-like. Based on what we've learned about Confederation sensors, they won't be able to target a phase-shifted vessel. The council members murmured with interest as Admiral Torres continued. We've retrofitted 5 destroyers with the technology, including Captain Ray's Defiance. We propose an immediate response to the Nevari threat. Not with diplomacy, but with action that demonstrates humanity won't be subjugated. 2 weeks later, Elena Reyes found herself commanding a small fleet of experimental warships hidden in the shadow of a moon orbiting Proxima Centauri b. Below them, the Nevari cruisers maintained their threatening position above New Seattle, the colony's capital city. Through secure channels, Elena received the coded message she had been waiting for. Operation Defiance authorized. All ships, activate phase shift drives on my mark, Elena ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of what they were about to attempt. Remember your training. We'll only have seconds of surprise before they adapt. Make them count. The human vessels shimmered and partially vanished as the phase shift technology engaged. They accelerated toward the Nevari cruisers, becoming visible only when they opened fire. The Defiance led the assault, its gravitational weapons distorting space around the lead Nevari vessel, crushing sections of its hull. They're trying to target us, Jackson reported as the Defiance phased out again, evading a retaliatory blast. Their weapons are passing right through us when we're shifted. The battle lasted less than 15 minutes. When it ended, 2 Nevari cruisers drifted as burning hulks, while the third had managed to escape by jumping to faster-than-light travel. The human ships had suffered damage, but none had been destroyed. Elena stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as shuttles descended to the colony below. The colonists were emerging from shelters, cheering as they realized what had happened. Humanity had not only survived its first interstellar battle, it had won decisively against a technologically superior enemy. Send word to Earth, Elena ordered. The Nevari are retreating. Proxima Centauri is secure. What she didn't say, what everyone on the bridge already knew, was that this victory would change everything. The Nevari would not take this defeat lightly. Humanity had just announced its refusal to accept second-class status in the galaxy, and they had done so not with words, but with the thunder of their warships. Word of the battle spread quickly throughout the Confederation. Species that had been subjugated by the Nevari for centuries watched with growing interest as humanity prepared for the inevitable counterattack. The age of human isolation was over. Whether they survived the coming storm would determine if they would become a footnote in galactic history or its authors. Reshaping the Galactic Order. 6 months after the Battle of Proxima Centauri, Admiral Torres stood before the United Earth Defense Council once again. The holographic display showed the positions of the rapidly expanding human fleet alongside intelligence about Nevari movements. The Nevari are mobilizing their forces, but they're facing something they haven't encountered in millennia: resistance from within the Confederation. Torres explained. Since our victory, 7 species have reached out to us seeking alliance. They'd been waiting for someone to challenge Nevari dominance. President Chang raised an eyebrow. Are these potential allies bringing military assets? Some are. Torres nodded. The Arcturians have secretly maintained a small fleet despite Nevari restrictions. Others offer resources, strategic positions, or technological knowledge. The Zenth, for example, were master shipbuilders before the Nevari limited their capabilities. Dr. Nakamura joined the discussion. We've improved the phase shift technology. New versions can remain shifted for longer periods and transition more quickly. We've also developed a method to extend the field around smaller allied vessels. The Council voted unanimously to formalize these alliances, creating what would become known as the Liberation Coalition. Captain Elena Reyes, now promoted to Commodore after her victory at Proxima Centauri, was assigned to command the first joint human-alien battle group. Elena's first mission came sooner than expected. The Zenth homeworld, Zenara, had declared independence from Niveri control. In response, a Niveri battle fleet was dispatched to restore order. Elena led a coalition force of 28 vessels, 12 human warships, and 16 ships from their new allies to defend Zenara. The Battle of Zenara proved even more decisive than Proxima Centauri. The human ships' phase shift technology allowed them to strike with impunity while protecting the more vulnerable Allied vessels. When the battle ended, the Niveri had lost 32 ships, while the coalition lost only 3. "You fight unlike any species we have encountered," said Krivosh, the Arcturian commander, as the Allied captains met after the battle. While most civilizations develop warfare methodically, building on established principles, humans seem to reinvent combat with each engagement. Elena smiled. "That's because we spent most of our history fighting each other. Competition and conflict drove our evolution, both biological and technological. Now we're applying those lessons to defend freedom rather than conquer." As news of another human victory spread, more worlds declared independence from Niveri control. The Confederation, a structure that had maintained stability for thousands of years, began to fracture. Species that had been kept technologically stunted began rapidly advancing with human assistance. The coalition fleet grew from dozens of ships to hundreds. 18 months after Proxima Centauri, the decisive moment arrived. Elena, now an admiral, stood on the bridge of the Resolute, humanity's first purpose-built battleship. The view screen showed the Niveri homeworld, Nivar Prime, surrounded by the largest fleet ever assembled by the coalition. "The Niveri High Council is hailing us," reported her communications officer. The face that appeared on screen was different from the Niveri Elena had encountered before. This one appeared older, with wisdom lines etched into its silvery skin. "I am High Counselor Vexnar of the Niveri Conclave. You have brought war to our doorstep, humans. Is annihilation your goal?" Elena maintained a neutral expression. "Not annihilation, Counselor. Liberation. The galaxy has lived under Niveri control for too long. We're here to negotiate new terms, not just for humanity, but for all species." "You would destroy a peace that has lasted millennia," Vexnar replied. "What you call peace, others call subjugation," Elena countered. "The Confederation was built on the principle that some species should control others. We propose a new galactic order, one based on cooperation and mutual respect rather than dominance." The negotiations lasted 7 days. The coalition fleet remained in position, a constant reminder of what would happen if diplomacy failed. In the end, the Niveri Conclave accepted reality. Their age of dominance was over. The Treaty of Nivar Prime formally dissolved the Confederation and established the Galactic Concord, a new organization where all member species would have equal standing. 5 years later, Elena Reyes stood on the observation deck of Concord Station, the massive space habitat that served as the Concord's headquarters. Below her, representatives from over 200 species gathered for the 5th anniversary of the treaty. Dr. Nakamura joined her at the viewport. "The phase shift technology is being adapted for civilian use," she said. "Medical applications, primarily. The Zenth have developed surgical tools that can phase through healthy tissue to reach tumors." Elena nodded. "That's what makes humans different. We develop the technology for war, but we're equally driven to repurpose it for peace." Together they watched as a massive vessel slowly approached the station, the Horizon, humanity's first true exploration ship. Unlike military vessels, it was designed purely for discovery, equipped with the most advanced sensors and research facilities that the combined knowledge of the Concord species could create. "The Exploration Corps has identified something interesting beyond the galactic rim," Dr. Nakamura said quietly. "Energy patterns that suggest intelligent activity on an enormous scale. The Horizon will be the first ship to investigate." Elena smiled. "In less than a decade, Humanity had gone from an isolated species to a central player in galactic politics. Human warships, once built for planetary defense, had reshaped the power structure of an entire galaxy. Now those same ships maintained the peace they had helped create, while a new generation of vessels pushed the boundaries of known space. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we accepted our place? Dr. Nakamura asked. If we'd signed the treaty and dismantled our fleet? Elena shook her head. That's not who we are. Humanity has always pushed boundaries, questioned authority, and refused to accept limitations imposed by others. Those traits made our history bloody, but they also drove us to accomplish what other species thought impossible. As they watched, the horizon departed, its engines flaring brilliantly against the darkness of space. The ship grew smaller until it was just another point of light among the stars. Humanity reaching once again beyond its grasp, carrying with it the lessons of both war and peace. The galaxy had never encountered anything like humans before. A species whose technological development was driven by conflict, but whose greatest ambition was cooperation. The Niveri had sought to contain this contradiction, fearing its potential to disrupt their carefully maintained order. Instead, they had provoked the very outcome they feared. The day human warships defeated the Niveri at Proxima Centauri was the day the galaxy's future changed. Not because humans had better weapons or tactics, but because they demonstrated something many species had forgotten: that determination and innovation could overcome even the most entrenched power structures. That lesson rippled through the stars, inspiring a revolution that ultimately built something better than what it replaced. And somewhere beyond the galactic rim, waiting to be discovered, new challenges and opportunities beckoned. The next frontier for a species that had reshaped one galaxy and might yet influence others.